In this video, I'll be going over how to game on Linux. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, you may know that I talk a lot about Linux on this channel, but I've never really gotten into gaming on Linux. So I'm going to go over the best ways to go about gaming on Linux and talk about a few ways to achieve this, both with Linux native games as well as Windows games, though I'll be mostly covering Windows games on Linux. But before I get into this video, I just want to say something about graphics drivers. Many modern Linux distributions that are designed for home use, like Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and Pop! OS, will install graphics drivers for you. However, there's a good chance that these are open source drivers, such as Nouveau for NVIDIA. Now, open source drivers tend to be more stable on Linux compared to their proprietary counterparts, but they may not offer the same level of performance for gaming. So I'm going to quickly go over how to get the proprietary drivers for both NVIDIA and AMD.
Alright, so now what you're going to do is open up your software sources application, or software and updates application, not to be confused with software updater, and then go to additional drivers. What will happen when you click on additional drivers is the system will look for installable drivers and allow you to install them with just a couple clicks from here. So now I don't have a discrete graphics card. If I did, my graphics driver options would show up here. And if you're having issues with the open source driver, like it's just not giving you the best performance, then you should be able to switch to the proprietary driver from here. If it doesn't show up there, then you can download the appropriate driver from NVIDIA's website if you're using an NVIDIA card, or from AMD's website if you're using an AMD card. And I'll have both of those linked in the description. So now the best and most seamless way to game on Linux is by using Steam. I'm sure most of you have heard of Steam, so I'm not going to waste time going over what that is. But if you want to find games that are natively supported on Linux, just go to Categories, then click SteamOS plus Linux under Special Selections, and then it'll load up games that are natively supported on Linux. Basically, in the Steam store, just look for this Steam icon on games. If it's there, then that means that the game you're interested in will natively run on Linux. And you can also look for free-to-play games from here. Now, when it comes to playing Windows games on Steam, the thing that I love about Steam is that Steam makes this dead simple. All you have to do is just go up to the Steam button here, click Settings, and then go to Compatibility, and then basically just switch this on, enable Steam Play for all other titles, and enable Steam Play for supported titles. Should already be on by default. And in my experience, Proton Experimental is fine. If your mileage varies, you can change the Proton version from here. Basically, what this will do is allow you to run Windows games on Linux via Steam. If you want to know how well the game you're interested in will run on Linux, what you can do is head over to protondb.com and then search for games. I'll just use No Man's Sky as an example, which, by the way, I've tried that, and in my experience, it runs flawlessly under Linux. But basically, it'll give you a rating, which will give you an idea of how the game you're interested in will run. And by the way, all the software that I'm mentioning in this video is available in the software repos of all the major Linux distributions, or at least the ones that are popular with gamers. But now, what about games that aren't in the Steam store? For these, you will want to use a program called Lutrus, and this makes the process of acquiring Windows games dead simple. Basically, just go to Lutrus, and then click Community Installers, and then you can search for the game you want. And what Lutrus does is it has a bunch of community installers for a lot of games. And you can also look at good old games. Connect your account there. And this will even work with Steam games as well. So now, if the game you're interested in is not available on the Steam store and there's no install script for it on Lutrus, what you can do is install Wine, which is basically a compatibility layer that allows your Windows game and your Linux OS to talk to each other. In fact, that's actually what Proton for Steam is based on. So now, first of all, let me show you the wrong way to install this. Just go to winehq.org, click download, and select your distribution and follow the instructions. So now, why shouldn't you do it that way? Well, Wine doesn't natively feature a GUI, so you will want a graphical front end to interact with it. Pro tip, getting Wine directly from the developer, that's the wrong way to do it. What I would do is install PlayOnLinux, which is a graphical front end for Wine. In fact, it'll actually install Wine for you. And then what you do is you just click install, and PlayOnLinux also has a database of install scripts, though for this you will need to provide your own Windows installer. Now, if either the Lutrus or PlayOnLinux install script doesn't work, there's yet another utility called WineTricks, which will allow you to install dependencies that your Windows games may need. There's a whole bunch of them here. Simply go to WineHQ's helpful application database on appdb.winehq.org, and then you can browse the apps. Just search for the game you want, and this will also give you a rating to help let you know how the game you're interested in will run under Wine. Simply match the dependencies to the ones listed on the game's WineHQ AppDB page and give it a shot.
Now, compatibility with Linux for Windows games is never guaranteed, but following the tips that I mentioned in this video should allow you to get most of your games up and running. And for the remaining ones, well, you can dual boot Windows and Linux, and then boot into Windows for those few games that won't run on Linux. But anyways, thanks for watching. Be sure to give this video a like if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and see you next time.